about a guy that for a lot of different reasons has probably been the least discussed number one pick in recent NFL history.
Ever?
Eric Fisher was the number one pick. There's occasionally years where it's like, this isn't going to be memorable. Cam Ward's an exciting player. Cam Ward is a dude. You saw it at Miami. You're going to see it in the NFL. You know, how good is he going to be? We'll find out. But he would have been regarded in that top group of quarterbacks, even if he came out in the 2024 draft. Goes to Tennessee because of all the drama surrounding Shedeur, because the lack of drama surrounding what the Titans were going to do at number one, there certainly has been a sense that Cam Ward hasn't gotten his due. So it's fitting, his debut, preseason, 5 of 8 passing for 67 yards, 2 drives, 1 touchdown. You're like, yeah, it's pretty good.
It's flown under the radar.
Like, I wish I had some kind of like, you know, smoking hot take about Cam Ward. We'll see when we get into the real game. The stuff that you hear about Cam Ward is just the level of preparation that he puts in, how badly he wants it, how much he wants to be the guy who galvanizes things, who sets up the extra meetings, who comes in early. Like all that stuff is good with Cam Ward. Here's a little bit of what he had to say after that debut over the weekend.
Well, I felt good operation-wise. We really didn't have any MAs. I think the biggest thing was just us being able to play in a real game atmosphere together, getting the vibe of each other, and then playing together like we did.
Was the speed of the game about what you expected?
It was. It's not really too different from college. Just more being, I would say, alerted on third downs. Just the cans that you can get to in Coach Callahan's offense, and then just getting the ball out when it needs to be out.
So the key checkpoint here is obviously not preseason week 1 for Cam Ward. We know, unlike all these other situations that we're going to spend way more time talking about, what happens with Shedeur, Dylan Gabriel, and the Browns, what happens with the Colts quarterback situation, at what point do the Giants go to Jackson Dart? The real checkpoint with Cam Ward, especially with Will Levis not out for the season and not having like the faint appearance of a quarterback competition, the checkpoint is week 1, it's at Denver. It's against a really good coaching staff. Sean Payton, who found it down the stretch last year with Bo Nix and getting those guys going. Defensively, Vance Joseph is going to throw a ton at you. That's where we'll find out how quickly this thing's going to get rolling with Cam Ward. So probably not a surprise that this morning, when he was asked about Cam Ward, strong debut, Brian Callahan said this.
Cam certainly hasn't arrived yet. You know, we got a lot of things still we're working on. I thought it was a good start for him. Encouraging, it was productive. But yeah, there's a couple of things that we're going to keep kind of grinding on. I think still working on getting the ball out fast, still working on the timing part of it. I think it was good to feel some live action there to feel what that feels like for real. But overall, pretty good. But there's certainly plenty of things that we're still working on with Cam. So that process is still ongoing.
Brian Callahan's he's a transparent guy. So I believe what he's saying there. The other thing I hear when Callahan is talking is this is their way of making sure we are continuing to challenge Cam Ward. You wanted to at least have the appearance of a quarterback competition, which is why they didn't declare a starting quarterback back at the start of the offseason. You wanted him and Will Levis. Levis is a very competitive guy to push each other. No one's going to convince themselves Brandon Allen is pushing for the number one quarterback spot. It's just not going to happen. Brandon Allen's been a really quality backup for a long time. He had started games in the league, but you don't have that. So how do you create something where Cam Ward realizes, and again, he's a very competitive guy. He's very sharp. He puts in the time. I'm not questioning any of that. But how do you make sure that the urgency, let's put it that way, is there for Cam Ward through a preseason where you don't have anybody gunning for the job? 2 years ago, the number one pick is Bryce Young. Bryce Young was declared the starting quarterback around minicamp. I want to say it was June, by Frank Reich. And again, Bryce Young is a super diligent guy. He puts in the time. He's a fast processor, all those things. But on some level, was there enough urgency for everybody to come along in that? Reich and his staff gets fired. Bryce Young, year 2, gets benched after 2 games.
Yep.
May not even get back in the lineup if Andy Dalton's not in a car accident. And now galvanizes and plays better down the stretch. Caleb Williams last year declared from day one he's the starting quarterback. And I'm not saying the season's different. If you don't declare Caleb Williams the starting quarterback after the draft, it's fairly obvious anyway. Season might have been different if Tyreek Stevenson isn't mugging for the crowd and breaks up a Hail Mary in Washington, but that's a different story. Eberflus and his staff get fired. Now Ben Johnson's coming in and making sure you're creating that urgency here. There's different ways to do it. And again, regardless of what Callahan said after the draft, it's like, we all know where this is going. He's going to be the starting quarterback, but the constant pushing and making sure you have that urgency there, it's smart because there has to be urgency for everybody in Tennessee. It was a super disappointing season. The GM gets fired. Other people in the building get fired. Callahan and his staff come back more or less intact. There's urgency for them that is inherent so that you don't end up in the same category as Frank Reich and Matt Eberflus. But even more so, it's the urgency to make sure that everybody understands whatever you did, yeah, great, 5 of 8, you scored a touchdown, cool. It's going to take way more than that when you get to September and you go to Denver.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.